أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Fellow Gambians and friends of the Gambia and the electorate, you will remember last Friday when I declared to you the acceptance of the results of the elections. I accepted the results then, believing that what was presented was the will of you, the Gambian people. I made it very clear that I would never cheat in anything, because I fear the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the same vein also, I will never accept being cheated by anybody. I accepted the results in good faith, always putting my destiny. You are all living witnesses to what happened after the acceptance of my statement, the results that were announced by the IEC. The campaign of terror that went around, bullying, vandalizing things, going into people's homes and insulting them, expression of real tribal hate, which does not augur well for a united Gambia. This Gambia belongs to all of us. There is no country in the world which is comprised of one single tribe. And there is also no country that is owned by any tribe. All the inhabitants of that country that the Almighty Allah put in equally own the country. That is why in the case of the Gambia, we call it Gambia. After my acceptance, with a lot of doubt, but putting my faith and my destiny in the hands of the Almighty Allah, Allah brought in the light. Elections are meant for people to express their democratic right and constitutional right to vote for whom they want to, without fear and intimidation. In this country, we have what we call the IEC, Independent Electoral Commission. The Independent Electoral Commission is expected to be independent from the chairman to all the officials of the Independent Electoral Commission. We are supposed to be people that are neutral and God-fearing. We have total number of registered voters in this country that we are all supposed to vote is 886,578. 886,578 registered voters. Out of this number, 525,659 registered voters voted. The number of registered voters that did not vote in this election is 360,919. registered voters that did not turn up. Remember on Friday I was wondering why these people didn't vote. Now, after my acceptance of the results, without any query, the IEC chairman wrote this document, which we got later on during the weekend. The headline is Justification, and I'll read for you to understand what has happened. Error in the total of final election results. The tabulation of the 2016 presidential election results from the 53 constituencies was done correctly. Furthermore, regional election results were also tabulated correctly from Banjul to Basse administrative areas. However, when the total votes per region were being tallied, certain figures were inadvertently transposed. Instead of adding the total number of votes polled by Mr. Adama Barrow in the Basse administrative area, the IEC added the total number of ballots cast for Basse administrative area to Adama Barrow's total number of votes, thus swelling the number of votes Mr. Barrow polled nationally. This error was repeated across for the other contesting candidates. Have you noticed this? The error is now corrected, and this is the actual result. The total number of votes transposed was not mentioned. How they rectified the error was not mentioned. And then, with their rectification, they came up with, for Adama Barrow, 227,708 votes. For myself, 208,486 votes. And for Mama Kande, 87,768 votes. It is very clear that signed Ali Momar Njai, chairman of the IEC, who is also the returning officer. They did something that is also unprecedented in the elections for the 22 years I've been in power. That all the parties were called to the IEC, I think it was on Monday, to tell them that there were errors and mistakes made. It is not from the level of the electorate, but the level of the IEC, which mistakes are unacceptable. On this note, I want to make it very clear that in the same way that I accepted faithfully the results, believing that the IEC was independent and honest and reliable, I hereby reject the results in totality. Let me repeat, I will not accept the results based on what has happened. Throughout this week, we have been conducting investigations to get to the bottom of why this large number of people did not vote. Our investigations reveal that in some cases, voters were told that the opposition has already won and there was no need for them to vote. And out of anger, some of them returned home. We also discovered something that has never happened in the elections in this country. That every registered voter, as was always the case, is put on the voters' register. This time around, interestingly enough, voters went to the polling stations where they are supposed to vote with their valid voters' cards. Later find that the picture on the voter register is correct, the name is correct, the address is correct. But interestingly enough, the number of the voters' card that was put in the voters' register did not tally with the one the voter was supposed to use to vote. And so they were turned away. The voter register was compiled by the IEC independently on their own, and the voters' cards were also issued by the same IEC. So how is it possible that you go to a polling station with your voter's card, find your name and your photograph on the voter register, or later be turned away because the number on the voter's card did not tally with the one that was on the voter's register? This is a serious anomaly which nobody would accept. Certain areas also, especially in CRR, our APRC polling agents were refused entry, and in some instances were even humiliatingly kicked out of the voting area, claiming by the IEC officials from 8 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This was the time when interventions were made, and then our polling agents were allowed in. Now, what happened when my polling agents were not representing me at the polling station? The claim by the IEC is that, oh, well, because all the results were signed by the polling agents, APRC polling agents, so that is normal. That is not normal. What happened when we are not there? What happened to the ballot box? And what were they telling the voters? This is the most dubious election that we have ever had in this country. It is unacceptable, and still the investigations are continuing. And now we know why 360,910 people did not vote. This being the case, as I said, I hereby announce to you Gambians my total rejection of the election results, and thereby annulling the elections in its entirety. And until we go back, we will go back to the polls, because I want to make sure that every Gambian has voted. Under an independent electoral commission that is independent, neutral, and free from foreign influences. For the other team, we've seen what has been happening these days. Well, let me make it very clear. The intervention of foreign powers in this country would not change anything. We know that plans were made or are being made for foreign troops to come because you have no confidence in the Gambian soldiers, children of the Gambia, employed and selected all across the country. I made one thing very clear. that, and I swore to the Almighty Allah and the Quran, that Gambia will not be colonized twice or enslaved twice, and this will not happen in 1 billion years. Interestingly, when the IEC made the announcement on the radio and television, no foreign news channel carried that announcement. Let me repeat. When the IEC made the announcement of the error on both GRTS, radio and television, no foreign news outlet, be it print media or electronic, carried that story of the error that was admitted by the IEC. That is immaterial. But Gambians should now know what the international press is all about. Does that mean a free and fair press? That is up to them. What is important is the unity of this country. I hereby appeal to all APRC supporters, people that have been insulted, people that were being beaten because they were wearing my T-shirts. I do not want any revenge. Allah permits revenge if you are unjustifiably treated. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says He prefers for you to forgive, because He appreciates people that forgive. I appeal to all of you, especially in the provinces where there was outrage, beating people on their farms, going into their houses at night. All those that are victims, and also that was never mentioned by any foreign government, even though they have their spies here, they have their agents here, or any human rights organization. We have been winning elections in this country without beating up anybody. Why I say that this time around, people have been terrorized for a whole week. This is unacceptable. But all those victims, whether you are APRC or the other party, I appeal to you in the name of the Almighty Allah and the Prophet that we believe in, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you are a Christian, the Prophet Jesus Christ has always enjoined forgiveness. He even said that if you are slapped on one cheek, give the assailant the other cheek. Nowadays it is very difficult for people to forgive. But for the unity, peace and stability of this country, I ask all of you to forgive. Not only for my sake, I'm appealing to you as your leader, but Allah loves people that forgive. Fitna would not benefit anybody. So until we go back to the polls and we work out how soon we will go, remembering that these elections were entirely financed by the Gambia government. It is very expensive. This is the second time that we are financing elections on our own, because those people believe I'm going to win, and so they will not spend their money on elections. This is also a lesson for all Africans to understand how certain powers work. That they sponsor elections when their sponsored candidate is expected to win. Where they have no hope of winning, they will not sponsor the elections. It's not only for African leaders to understand, but it's for all Africans to understand what is at stake. Already, Certain people have started saying what they will take. Decisions have been taken as to which country they will give the oil, our natural resources. Their behavior is well known to all of you. Thank God it will not happen until we got a clean, transparent elections where nobody will be denied the right to vote, and where the elections will be supervised by God-fearing, honest, patriotic, and God-fearing IEC members. As I said once again before I close, forgive what has happened. I don't want any vengeance. I will not also tolerate any demonstrations, and the security services of this country are here to maintain law and order. Elections are not football matches. In football, whether the referee was correct or wrong, the results are final. This is elections, where people decide their destiny. And so, if the referee is wrong, the results cannot be final. This being the case, we will go back to the polls. We will organize fresh elections and also make sure that everybody is registered, and also make sure that all those that are registered before the elections, we will have to look at the voter register to make sure that what has been done this time has not been done, will not be done. That is, putting correct figures, photographs of the voter on the voter register, the name and surname and the photograph, or later put in there a number that they know does not tally with the voter's card in possession of this particular individual. Why they did that, only God knows. That alone is fraudulent and is unacceptable. All Gambians, the peace and stability of this country would not be compromised. The unity of this country cannot be negotiable. Whatever had happened, I once again appeal to all of you to forgive the humiliation you were subjected to, the intimidation, the vandalism, and the insults. Remember that after I accepted defeat, they put on the internet that my mother has died. I received calls from all over, and I was shocked. People calling to commiserate with me, and I said, if you want, you call me another day. I'll call my mom, and even though she doesn't speak English, you hear her voice. So many things have been said. Indecency, which is unacceptable. They insulted my mother. But I leave them with the Almighty Allah. I also appeal to all of you. Bàyyi ak Yàlla. Bàyyi ak Yàlla. Loole mun di gis ngeen bàyyi ak Yàlla. Leave them with the Almighty Allah. Please, don't revenge. Don't take revenge. Don't avenge for what has happened. I want a peaceful Gambia, and I want us to vote next time. I've learned a great lesson. And I think all of us have seen and learned a great lesson from what happened. Now we know each other better. I have seen People that were green, all of a sudden turning yellow, rejoicing and dancing. Thank God this has happened for us to see the reality of who we are and where each and every one of us belong. Time will tell, Allah would judge when we go back to the polls. As a government, we will meet and work out and see how soon we can go back to the electorate, depending on the limited resources that we have. If we had all the resources, we will call it immediate elections. But of course, we also have an IEC that is not independent. And so we have to make sure that the next time we have elections, the treachery that happened this time will not be repeated. Please, don't take revenge. Don't avenge, because vengeance, where you are, your rights are violated, is ordained by the Almighty Allah. But the same Almighty Allah prefers forgiveness. Forgive them on my behalf. I have forgiven them for all what the nasty things they said about my mother. But let me make it very clear, there will be no repeat of such without consequences. There will be no repeat of such without serious consequences. So every Gambian, go and continue your normal business. No Gambian has a right to attack anybody. Violence will not be tolerated. We will not tolerate violence. I wish you all the best. Until next time that we go to the polls, this is the end of this elections chapter. I want to take this opportunity, and Sunday is Maulud Nabi, to wish you all happy Maulud Nabi in advance. May the Almighty Allah continue to bless us all. Bless this country, continue to bless this country with more resources, peace, stability, and love. Once again, Devenati, si Maulud Nabi, Alama Mbe Mabela Jaritati, Maulud Nabi, Emitekatu, Umata Maulud Nabi Ajufe. To all Gambians and to all Muslims, I wish you a very blessed Maulud Nabi. It is a time of prayer and recitation of the Holy Quran. And may the Almighty Allah accept our recitations and our wishes and prayers. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you.